welcome to a new video. I wanted to do a quick little recap of my reading year so far. As I'm filming, it's June 28th, so we're about halfway through the year. And I just want to do a little catch up, see how my reading goal is doing, the books I've read so far. I'm always reading my books in completely random order. It has been something. There have been some weird months in there, especially May. I'll get to that. My reading goal for 2025 was initially 49 books because I always take the amount of books I've read in the previous year as my reading goal. But right now I have the message on my screen that says press on, read 8 books to get back on track. So I'm most likely not going to make my goal this year, which I'm not too bothered about. It has been a crazy year. I just did my first year of law school. We moved to a completely different city. We had to sell our house and we bought this one that I'm sitting in right now. I had never done that before, so that was a lot. Then 2 months ago, I got married. And then I also decided at the beginning of this year to completely reread the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson so I could fully appreciate it when I read the 5th and final book in the first installment. And for those of you that are not very familiar with his work or like the fantasy genre, they are this big. These are the biggest books I own, and I read 5 of these. So yeah, I'm behind and I'm not very bothered about it. I'm not gonna make it. I think this year, seeing as I'm at 15 right now, I did read very big books, so I think I could maybe do 20 more this year because there's still summer vacation coming up and there will be Christmas holidays. So I think 20 more books is a decent goal. So that will put me at 35 books for the year, which I'm totally fine with. I wanted to quickly just go through, like breeze through the books that I did read, what I thought about them. Some I absolutely loved. So in January, I started off with what was supposed to be book 50 for last year, but then I had to make a choice between spending New Year's Eve with my family or reading, and obviously I chose to spend it with family. So it was 49 books last year, and then this one was the first book that I read this year. Well, I finished it and it was fun. It is more young adult-ish, so I think I would have enjoyed it more if I was around 15 to 20, but it's cute. It's cute, but I guess that kind of is it. So, and then in January, I also read the novella by Brandon Sanderson. At the beginning of the year, I pretty much only read Brandon Sanderson. The novella Edge Dancer, which comes between, I believe, book 2 and book 3, which was quite nice. And I say novella, but for Brandon Sanderson, novella is still 300 pages. So that is a full-blown book pretty much for most authors. I started off February with this massive thing. They're amazing. They're truly in a league of their own. I don't really compare them to other books. I don't really compare them to like literary fiction or anything because I feel that's unfair. So they're so much fun just to be in this world and to read about it. After that one, I continue with the novella that comes between book 3 and book 4, which is Dawn Shard. Then I switched it up because I needed something else for a second to not read fantasy all the time, and I read Dubliners by James Joyce, which I absolutely loved, which is pretty weird for me because I do not usually like short story collections because it can be such a mixed bunch. Some stories you love, some you hate, and you keep getting thrown into these new stories. I personally like it more for it to be one story, but these were great. Some I did not fully get, not at all, because they are so deeply into Irish politics and history, and I don't know that much about it to appreciate what was going on. But there were also some amazing ones. My favorite is Painful Case, which is just, I love weird psychology and human behavior that is just, it's so natural, but it is also depraved. I love that. So that was absolutely my favorite. It's not often that I do it, but I went and underlined the book. Something has to be very, very special for me to go and do that. So Dubliners, probably my favorite short story collection that I've ever read. Then I read 4 books in February, which is a lot, considering that the first one was over 1,000 pages. The first book I read was the reappearance of Rachel Price, which is from a book club. I will link it below because I love the initiative. All the books are in Dutch, but sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't. But they're quite popular books, which I like, but it also means that sometimes I've already read them, and some I just don't feel super interested in. But this one was a reappearance of Rachel Price, and I liked it. I thought the plot was good. But the main character was quite silly and frustrating, which for me took a lot of the enjoyment out of the book. But I appreciate the plot. From March was Brandon Sanderson only again. I first read part 4, Rhythm of War, and loved it. Nothing more to say, just absolutely amazing. Love these books. I reread 1 to 4 just so I could fully appreciate book 5. That is a lot to go through when the books are this big, so that goes to say a lot. And then I was finally able to finish the series. I was kind of anxious to start reading this because the first reviews that came in said that it ended on a plot twist. In total it will be 10 parts, but the first 5 are connected and then the last 5. And there will be a span of 10 years between them. And I'm not talking fictional years, I'm talking actual Earth years. So that is very long wait if it ends with a cliffhanger. For me personally, I felt completely fulfilled by the ending and I did not experience it in that way at all. I think it was rounded off perfectly and I see that there is still story that can be made after the ending, but it is not unsatisfying at all. It was amazing. So then I finally finished my big Brandon Sanderson reread and I went back to just completely random reading, which is done by making my husband select a random book on my TBR. And I got this one, which I had been wanting to read for a while. I usually don't buy new books, but this one got damaged and they put it at a huge discount and I'm like, that's barely damage at all. The book is totally fine. So I just snagged that and I finally read it. And I think if you don't count all of the Brandon Sandersons, because I'm just emotionally invested in those, if you're just going for like quality of the story, I think this is one of the best books that I've read so far this year. I really, really loved it and I would love to reread this one day. Then something weird happened. Brandon Sanderson again. This is one of the first books he's ever published, I believe, and that was noticeable. I enjoyed it. The story is incredibly original. It has that Brandon Sanderson touch, but the female main character was such a letdown for me. She has so much potential. She is a big, tall woman who is described as not attractive, which I loved that premise. One of her main characteristics is that she's very intelligent, like borderline genius, except that the things she does and says are not very genius. However, the other characters in the book are just so incredibly impressed by her and she comes up with these plans that are just plain stupid. Her love interest is introduced. He's like, that is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Where first it was established that she is almost 30 years old and never really had any advances from men or got any male attention. And it just completely broke that cycle the second there was a love interest going on, which I was quite disappointed about. I would have liked to see that go differently. However, big however, Brandon Sanderson is going to continue this. This used to be a standalone, but he's going to write, I think, 2 more parts. These were published over 10 years ago, I think almost 13 years ago. I think his skill has developed a lot beyond this, and I'm very, very curious to see where he will take it, what he will do with his characters. So I definitely will be reading the other parts that are coming. I trust him to write good books, so I will be reading them. I think that was the last Brandon Sanderson I read. Then the last one for April is The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory. I love The War of the Roses. This is not historically accurate at all, so me not being a historian is what makes me able to enjoy these books, if I can believe the reviews on Goodreads, because they're not super great, and I understand if there are many inaccuracies why you would be disappointed as a historian, but since I do not spot those inaccuracies, I can read the book. It's very fun. I've read other parts in this series. This is part 1, but you can read them in random order. That's totally fine. And I saw this in the thrift store after I read White Queen, which is about the daughter of the main character of this book. It was very fun. I think I just loved that time period. And then we come into May, and May was a little bit crazy. It started off with A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, which is about 2 cities. Obviously, it goes between London and Paris, and it takes place during the French Revolution. I did not love it. It's about this incredibly violent period of time. This is a very romantic book. The characters are barely recognizable as human. They are these very romanticized archetypes of what an ideal woman and what an ideal man should be like, but that is not relevant anymore to a modern reader. Obviously, I can let go of some cultural ideas of the modern times because this was never meant to reflect our age, but I find myself unable to enjoy these incredibly flat female characters. They don't have any kind of agency. A little bit of a flop for me. And then, just when I thought I was done with the French Revolution, I get this book, Les Miserables, which was way, way better than A Tale of Two Cities in my opinion, but my god, is it long. I put some tabs in here, which means there were amazing, amazing parts in this book, because I do not tab a book lightly. It has to be absolutely groundbreaking for me to want to go back and leaf through a book and read specific paragraphs again. But the ending is so frustrating. You read 1,000 pages and then you just get slapped in the face, and it felt like such a letdown, the ending. The title already suggests that so much happens in this book that is incredibly traumatizing and horrible, and we do not dive very deep into the psychology of that. There is no internal arc for the characters, I feel like. I do feel like that could have been much, much more developed, and obviously it is a different time. I'm once again looking through a modern lens, but I think for me personally, it was a little bit of a letdown. I've also been wanting to see the movie, the 2012 one, so I think I still will be doing that, because I do think it's a great story, and seeing it in an hour and a half is probably better than reading all of this again. So if I ever want to go back to it, I'm watching the movie. And then for June, which is right now, in June I started to make videos. I kind of talk about these books in other videos. I was going to make a random June TBR video, but got one, a little bit enthusiastic and started making another video for which I read another book. And 2, I'm reading a book that is so good that I'm reading it so slowly. I'm not even halfway through the stack that I was supposed to be reading for that video, so I'm just gonna make it one long video and just ignore whatever I was planning on doing. Then the most recent book I finished is A Court of Thorns and Roses. About this one I've already made a video. It is the first ever video on my channel. I just take you on a journey of me reading this, and I give an in-depth review of what I'm thinking. But if I had to give a little one-word review right now, it would probably be silly, just very incredibly silly book. So those are the books that I have read so far. Found many great books. Demon Copperhead was absolutely amazing. I loved that one. The one I'm reading right now, which is The Glass Bead Game, is also so far looking to be one of my favorite books ever. But I'm only halfway through, so I don't want to curse it. So those were my books that I've read so far this year. And I would love getting some recommendations. If there are books that you've absolutely loved, then please do let me know. I'm always looking for new books and new finds. Thank you for watching this video. It means a lot. I've just started making videos, and if you are here and watching, then that really does mean a lot. So thank you. Bye bye.